Trapping plays a very important role in modern-day wildlife management. Professional wildlife biologists monitor fur-bearer populations to maintain a healthy and sustainable harvest of this important, renewable natural resource. Trapping provides recreation and income for licensed trappers across this country. Hoosier Trapper Outdoors is brought to you by Hoosier Trapper Supply. J3 Outdoors, manufacturer of the Hags Bracket and Body Trap Spring Clip. Leatherwood Creek Trapping Scents. Weeby Knives and Fur Handling Tools. HTS Productions. Hoosier Trapper Deer Scents. And Leatherwood Wildlife Art.
All right, welcome to episode 5, Hoosier Trapper Outdoors. On this episode, we will be back in New Mexico. Just to follow up, we'll have three more episodes with New Mexico. Then we will have some muskrat trapping, marsh trapping, and then we will go back to New Mexico for a follow-up second visit to New Mexico's completely different geography. And also this season we will have our semi-live trapping footage. So basically trapping that we're going to do around here we'll use this season, so potentially you could see footage that's maybe only 3 or 4 days old. So that'll be our semi-live trapping footage, and then we'll also, like I said, have additional New Mexico and some muskrat marsh trapping here in Indiana with Justin and I kayak trapping on that one. So I want to thank everybody for the orders that we've been receiving. That's what keeps all this going. Without those orders, this wouldn't be possible, and so we really appreciate that. We appreciate our sponsors, J3 Outdoors, makers of the Hags Bracket and the Spring Clip, and also Weeby Knives. They make the Weeby skinny knives and also the Weeby fleshy knives. So if you haven't checked those out, you might check those out. They're both companies make excellent products. And as I've mentioned in the past, we are very particular about who we have as a sponsor. It's got to be a product that we personally use and believe in. We're not just going to take any sponsor just because they're handing us a check. So that's very important to us. Maintain integrity of who we allow to sponsor. So anyway, we really appreciate those guys. So if you're not doing something tomorrow, September 29th, we got our Fur Taker rendezvous here at Hoosier Trapper Supply. So if you don't have plans for tomorrow, Saturday, you might consider spending the day with us. It's a good fun day. We've got lots of demos, kids games, excellent food. We're even doing a maple syrup making demo, and so if you can join us, I'm sure you'll have a good time. And I hope you enjoy the show. Check day 2. The first location we set. This is a water tank. It's behind Justin. Justin's on the camera. We set it heavy. I think we had 13 sets in here. There's a lot of sign. We did connect on a gray fox down here. This is actually below the dike or the dam of the water tank. Pretty rough. So it was really a cat set, but the gray foxes like that same terrain, obviously. So we'll take it. I always like catching them. So pretty cool. See if we can get it down here without falling down. All right, here's the set that we just caught the gray in. And like I said, you can see here in this location, this is, like I said, below the dike or the dam of the water tank. So we got a trail coming over right here, and we've kind of coming up through here too. And then behind Adrian here, it's coming up this way. So there's a lot of travel ways leading through here, and of course there's lots of cover and lots of prey animals in here for them to hunt. It was a cat set. It was made with that in mind, but the grays, that blocking and stuff doesn't seem to bother them at all. Put a little Christmas tinsel up there for cat attractant on that tree, and we'll see what happens again. Like I said, I'm never going to complain about catching a gray fox. I like catching them. We're hoping to come walk over that dam some morning and have a cat sitting up here on the top of this tree. That would, with the trap on his foot.
I've been a professional trapper for over 40 years, and in that time, I've skinned literally thousands of animals. I've learned that it doesn't matter how cool a knife looks on your hip. What really matters is sharpness and reliability. And that's why I created the Weeby Wicked Sharp line of replacement blade knives. These are knives that will quickly skin your critters without skinning your wallet. Visit WeebyKnives.com to get the new Monarch folding knife with 3 replacement blades for just $19.95. Weeby Knives, Wicked Sharp.
His leg's in good shape. I'm going to be surprised. He should have barrel rolling.
30-inch chain with the JC Connor shock spring in the center, and 7 swivel points, because this thing is just tuck and roll. So, pretty awesome. We're on this cattle trail, and there's a wash that comes right out of here. Kind of made a flat set with, you can see some of the carcass bones there that were holding the lure.
That's a pretty one.
Yeah, kind of made like a flat set. I couldn't get a dirt hole in, it's pretty rocky, so I just put some top dog and covered it up, and put that bone on top to hold a little bit of lure, which was black gold and finicky feline. So, first check night at this location, second check day. So we'll take care of him and remake it, and hopefully connect again before we pull out of this place in the next week or so.
All right, check day 2, 2 gray fox, and so I mean we'll take it. That's not bad. Been setting traps. It's about 3 o'clock. We'll set traps probably for another at least another hour and a half. Before it gets dark, and see what we can do. We've got Adrian with us, but this is the last day they'll be with us. They pulled the traps that they had out, and they got to get back to reality and
unfortunately
back to the real world. And but that's been a lot of fun with you guys. We appreciate it, and we appreciate the guide service essentially. So even though this area was new to you, it's but yeah, I appreciate it. Was a good time.
No problem.
It was short while we were with you, but it's been fun.
Yeah. Yep. And Adrian, and we'll show some other stuff, but Adrian's goes as Trapper Adrian, or Adrian Romero Fine Art. He's a painter, artist, so check him out.
It's aromeroart.com.
There you go. And the picture, some of you probably already seen it, the cat that Justin caught last year, kind of on the little bit of a dike on a water tank. Adrian painted that, and it turned out awesome. So pretty excited. Yeah. So you see him, check him out at his website, and also he goes to a number of the trappers conventions too.
Yes.
So
a few major ones for sure.
Yeah.
He does good work. I got a canvas hanging in a spare bedroom with my first New Mexico bobcat. So proud of it.
Oh, and here's Duke.
Yeah, Duke.
Last year Duke was a pup, and but now this year, a year later, we're strangers. He's not too sure. He's not too sure.
We'll see what happens tomorrow. Day 3.
Good luck.
It's been fun, guys.
It's
We
been great.
appreciate it. Yeah,
Yep.
we appreciate it. Adrian,
Have a good time.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
See you guys.
Top Dog Predator Bait. Success speaks for itself.
Hags Trapping Products by J3 Outdoors, the most versatile and efficient trapping devices on the market.
All right, for our set segment this time, we're going to work off of another option on a dirt hole set. We're going to just make a small hole set. Some of them call them mouse hole sets. Something that doesn't have a visual appeal to it, quite like the bigger dirt hole that has good visual eye appeal to it. But this is just kind of something else to throw at them. So basically you can just take your driver, or you can get small trowels too, and just put it in the ground. Just kind of waller out a small hole like that. I mean, we're not making a flat set, so I still want a hole, but it's a much smaller hole than the typical, tell by my fingers here how much smaller of a hole that is than what we typically make. You know, with the trowel that's going to make a hole that big. It's important. You're probably not going to be able to get it quite as deep, but it's still important to have it down good and deep to make that animal work at it. This is just, here again, something else. This may spark some curiosity in ones that maybe have seen dirt hole sets. You know, for most of us, fur prices right now are not great, so there's not a huge concentration of trappers in any particular one area. So, you know, you may or may not need to do this, or these work very well. You know, if you got a lot of trappers and you got a lot of concentration of trappers and you got a lot of them dirt holes out there on every farm, then you have to start, you know, pulling a few things out that shows, you know, throws some variation of those sets at that animal that, you know, they haven't been seeing. So fundamentally, you know, we're all basically making a trap, having some sort of way to attract the animal to the trap. So in a way, fundamentally, we're all kind of doing the same thing, but the variations sometimes are all it takes to catch the animal that you're after, and the guy on the next farm over is not catching them. So anyways, this is as far as trap placement, everything's going to be basically the same as we've been talking about already. And like I said, I've got all this hardware on this trap here, so I put that off to the side. And one thing I haven't talked about that I've kind of neglected, this is kind of a small, inconspicuous set, and it's not, you know, it doesn't have a lot of eye appeal to it, like a bigger dirt hole set. But one thing I haven't talked about is the depth of dirt over the trap. You know, I've talked about typically the trap bed is somewhat below the grade of the ground over here. You know, typically, I used to always say if you sneezed on the set, it would expose the trap. So the point of all that is, you know, that might be obviously a slight exaggeration, but the point of all that is you don't want a lot of cover over the trap. You know, as long as the trap's adequately covered and the wind's not going to blow it off, it functions better with lighter cover than with heavier cover. And one thing too is the more cover you put on, say your trap's 6-inch jaw spread and you add a 1/2-inch cover of dirt over the top of that, you have essentially then reduced that 6-inch jaw spread to 5.5 inches. So bear that in mind. You know, and I've seen some of these guys, and you can get by with, you get those, you know, the big coyote traps or whatever. You can get by with a little bit more cover. They've got big jaw spreads. They've got plenty of strong spring to come up through that dirt. But then again, you know, even with those, I'm not sure why you'd need to do that or want to do that. So just keep in mind, the more cover you put on there, you're cutting down on your jaw spread. So Anyways, so here we've got this, like I said, it's kind of a smaller, inconspicuous set. We've got a much smaller hole that we've made with the driver. Like I said, you can kind of, once you made your set and sifted your dirt, you can kind of waller it back out. And then we're going to put bait down in the hole, and a little bit of lure and some urine back here. So we're basically the same as our big dirt hole set, other than we're using a much smaller hole. Just something else to throw at them. Kind of blend these edges a little bit, and we're good to go. Like I said, this is much smaller visually than the standard dirt hole. This stuff right here, you can do you can do a couple things with it. You can actually put it back here to show more visual to the set. I actually brought some dirt in before I make this, not from this particular location. So I'm probably actually gonna just take this dirt and just throw it off on somewhere over here on the side instead of putting all of it back here. So that's kind of our set for this week, and we'll continue with our set making series on the next episode. All right, I was going to sit down for this one. Question and answer. Got a question, and it's a good question, about ethics of trapping, unwritten rules, that kind of thing. And this applies to whether you're turkey hunting, deer hunting, trapping, whatever. And there's different levels to it. So if there's a guy in a tree stand, you're probably not going to go set up your tree stand within 10 yards of him, and you're not going to come in on somebody that's turkey hunting and calling turkeys. So, and I know that stuff happens, but it doesn't mean that it's right, and it doesn't mean that it's ethical. It's legal, but it's not right. So when the specific question dealt with what are we doing on public ground if we run into somebody else or whatever. So and we have on occasion run into other trappers, and to be honest with you, we've become good friends with trappers from out of state because we were down there trapping, and they've actually helped us out. So you've got that side of it, and then you've got the side of it that people don't appreciate you being there as well. So the thing about it is, for instance, we've gone up a Forest Service road, and we've seen someone's sets, and we've actually backed out of that area and then just took a different road. We just kind of avoided it. It would have been perfectly fine and perfectly legal for us to go set that road up, but it's just not right. And didn't really want to come in on somebody else. And I'm sure in some cases that we have probably trapped similar areas or the same areas as others, and may have just not seen their sets. They walked in further, or whatever. So sometimes you just can't avoid it. Now there's a video out there floating around that probably a lot of you have seen, and the trapper in the video talks about setting behind somebody and back set and all this and that, and to me it's just not something I would do. Some people have no problem with it, whatever. They just feel that if it's legal, it's legal. And that's another thing. There's so many levels to that. And the other thing is, you can be legal setting a 220 body trap if you have permission, if you're within the legal size of the trap, but there's still some places you just don't set that trap because of dogs or non-target catches. So, the bottom line is, I guess you got to do what you feel good with, but you got to remember that you represent all trappers, essentially, particularly to the non-trapping public. And then as far as the ethical part of you coming in on somebody else or whatever, then you just got to keep in mind that would you want someone doing that to you if at all possible, if it could be avoided. So I guess there's not a definitive answer, but certainly something that to bear in mind, to think about, and trying to be as good to other trappers as possible.
Lip licker deer lure. Success speaks for itself.
Thanks for watching the show, guys. Just want to let you know that we have the new catalog available. Pretty sharp looking cover there with Charlie working a muskrat hut. You can get this by calling the shop here at any time. Just give us your home address and we'll be glad to send you one. Or you can visit us at HoosierTrapperSupply.com and sign up that way, request one. It's real easy. It's on the home page. It's a brand new website. It's pretty sharp. And you can also sign up for our email newsletter, which informs you on show dates when they're coming out and product highlights and shows or specials that we may have going on at the time. Occasionally a blog by Charlie. So just a little bit of insight of what's going on here at Hoosier Trapper will be in those newsletters. One thing I wanted to add too is the Fur Shed series is still out there, so don't forget about that. We send them out randomly. There's no dates available. Anytime we think there's a tip or something useful that could help someone out in the field or in their shed, we'll go ahead and throw it out there for you. And it's real clean cut, straight to the point. Anything from trap modification to fur grading or whatnot, just anything that's done in the shed, not necessarily done in the field. Those tips can really be helpful, so be on the lookout for those. And go ahead and follow us too on all the social media sites. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. The list goes on. Just find us on there, and we'd love to hear from you. Comments, like, post, all the good stuff. So we'll see you next time.
Join us on October 12th for the next episode of Hoosier Trapper Outdoors.